With my experience working with early stage startup founders, 9 times out of 10, they fall into the following persona. I have an idea. I've done a lot of research and analysis on the market, and I can show you the stats if you want. I've talked to my friends and done surveys with many other people, and they all love it. The idea is fully validated. I've also done 3 years of financial projections, and I'm 100% confident that this idea is going to work, and it will be massive. This is where I'm at. I've got a detailed requirements specification for the proposed solution. And all I need is just some funding or a tech co-founder to build a solution so we can launch it to the market. If that sounds like you, I want you to pay extra attention for the next few minutes. Do you know what is the number 1 reason why startups fail? No market need. And the lack of market need is often due to the lack of testing, and people went off to build something that nobody wants. A lot of students say to me, I can't test it until I have funding to build a product so we can show the customer what the idea is about. Find me funding or a tech co-founder. To be honest, no one is going to give you money or put their lives into building your product just because of an idea. So how do we overcome that chicken and egg dilemma without breaking our own bank account? You need to change your mindset completely. First, we need to understand what is a startup. If we look at Steve Blank's definition, a startup is a temporary organization used to search for a repeatable and scalable business model. The keywords here are temporary and to search. We're not building a business yet. We're basically using an idea as a starting point to carry out a series of experiments so we can further understand who our potential customers are, their real needs, and their true motivation to buy. If you have not fully figured those out yet, whatever business model, building a team, financial projections, raising capital, they are all totally irrelevant. So to do that, we need to tune into the lean mindset. You might have heard about the lean startup previously, but the fundamental principle of the lean mindset is you don't know until you test. Yes, you don't know until you test. Say that 101 times to yourself. So basically, we are taking that phrase, you don't know until you test, and baking it into everything that we do. So from now on, I want you to throw away all of your preconceived notions, all of the things that you think you know about your idea, and just trash them. Whatever you have heard, whatever you think will happen, or is common sense, or anything that you have read. The only things that we know comes from repeated tests. Getting out there and showing customers your product or services in a way that they don't actually know it is a test. They think is real, and under a real, non-pressured, non-biased buying situation is the only time when the magic happens and we can actually learn something. You need to recognize that anything you read that's from secondary research or any information you get from basic conversations or surveys that are not in the test environment, we simply call those learnings. But if you learn something in an actual test environment that's well designed, we can call that validated learning. Seriously, write this one down. It's so important. All right, for those who's listening, does that remind you of something? Come on, anyone? Remember back in the days, depending on how old you are, in chemistry class where you would have to do a science experiment. You would have to make a hypothesis on what is going to happen if you say, mix oil and water together. Even the result seems so obvious, we still have to design an experiment to test out our assumption. So you would have to write a brief, and the brief would have an hypothesis like, I think that even if we mix oil and water together, they can easily be separated. And then we need to list out some assumptions, like I'm assuming that oil and water don't mix. These are the type of things you would write in your scientific brief. Then you would go out and test it, right? You would go mix oil and water together and see what happens. Then you record the information and observation, and that's what you have learned in a purpose-built test environment. And then you would redesign the experiment again based on the validated learnings you gathered from the first experiment and repeat the process until the outcome satisfied all of your assumptions. The lean validation process works exactly like that. In fact, we call it the scientific method for business. Let's pull up the graph of the scientific method and put it right next to the lean startup validation cycle. Look how unbelievably similar they are. They are basically the same thing. It's just a scientific way to look at business ideas. So this is exactly how you're going to test your business idea. First, we start with an hypothesis. We're going to list our assumptions. We're going to design an experiment, run the experiment, have a conclusion, and then take all of the validated learnings that we got from the test and reincorporate them into the next cycle of testing with a brand new hypothesis. So no more subjective judgment or gut feeling, which many people believe that's what business is about. With the lean mindset, that stops.